All right, everybody, welcome back to the AAT Sports Network. I am Adam Mack, your host of the Frankly Phil's and Mack's Minor Report podcast here. I am joined by 2008 World Series champion and 2009 National League champion. That is so good to say. Scott Eyre. Scott, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. It's good to hear that too, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm doing very well. I'm actually down here in Clearwater Beach at the Phillies fantasy camp. So I get to relive the 08-09 seasons through all these fantasy campers that are down here. And I was just in a hotel bar talking to JC Romero. He's just got into town.
Nice.
And Joe Blanton will be here from that team.
Mhm.
And then Chris Coast, who I coach this fantasy camp with Coasty. Let's be real. Coasty coaches. I just kind of hang out. And I tell all the one-liners and the jokes, but it's a lot of fun, man. We have 12 teams.
Mm-hmm.
There's between 12 and 14 players on each team, and they're just diehard Philly fans. So they come here with a passion, and they're not so happy right now after the Eagles lost. So
no, that's why I wanted to do this interview now, so people can forget about the Eagles and look forward to pitchers and catchers reporting in 27 days.
I miss those days, actually.
Yeah. So when I say Scott Eyre, World Series champion, obviously, like every person that's ever played baseball, down from Little League all the way up to the majors, dreams of not just playing in the World Series, but winning it all. You did it towards the end of your career. Looking back on it, what's it when you hear those words that you're a World Series champion? What does that mean to you?
Still get goosebumps. I was lucky enough to play in 3 World Series. I was with the Giants in 2002. We lost to the Angels, but I dreamt as a little kid throwing a tennis ball against the garage door that my mom literally put tape up on the door, and made like a 9 square, what they make nowadays, kids can throw to. But I had a garage door to throw against, and we weren't allowed to throw baseballs because you'd put a hole through the garage. But we threw tennis balls against it for hours a day, played wiffle ball in the front yard, emulating I grew up in Los Angeles, so I was a Dodger fan. As a kid, grew up emulating Dusty Baker's swing or Kenny Landreau as a lefty with the big elbow up and all that stuff. And, I watched Oral Hershiser pitch as a youngster and Fernando Valenzuela. So I grew up wanting to play Major League Baseball, and I graduated high school about 5'11". I doubt I was 6 foot. I really do. And I weighed about 135 pounds, 140 pounds, maybe. And I went to 1 year of junior college and I got drafted. And when I got drafted, I still didn't weigh 150 pounds. So by today's standards, there's no chance I get drafted. I threw in the upper 80s. I threw strikes, had a big curveball, was durable, was a starter all through the minor leagues and stuff. But I don't think I ever really thought of myself as, I'm going to make it to the big leagues. I just kept playing every year until they told me I would move up from A ball to double A. And I actually didn't even understand. I'm not going to say it's easier nowadays, but the process, everybody knows the process nowadays. I didn't even understand how the minor leagues worked when I got drafted. I really didn't have any idea. I knew what A ball and double A was, but I didn't realize that, there's guys that have great years and then they go back to single A ball for some reason. They want them to work on this or do that. I didn't understand the process till I got into it. So it was quite fun and enjoyable for me to learn all that as I was going.
Awesome. And obviously, with your career in Philly, you came into the Phillies organization mid-2008. So by then, the Phillies, right off their first division title in, 15-ish years, probably a long time. And they had really, they had championship aspirations in 2008. What's it like going into a locker room or into a clubhouse, with that, aspirations for that team? Like, what was it, a difficult transition? Was it, easy? No. Was it fun? Wow, this team is ready to win. This is great.
All of those you just described. Coming from Chicago in 08, we had the same aspirations on that team, that we thought we had a pretty good team in Chicago. And then I just wasn't pitching very well and then couldn't seem to get out of Lou Pinella's doghouse and even get a chance to pitch when I was pitching well. So being traded was a blessing for me. I had no regrets of playing in Chicago. It's a great place to play, but I'll tell you, you asked about coming into a clubhouse. So my first day in Philly was, I don't want to say eye-opening, because I'd been in clubhouses that had been professional before. Like when I was in San Francisco, it was a very professional clubhouse. People, treated everybody with respect and kindness, and ribbed each other, ragged on each other. Every clubhouse has a Brett Myers that's loud and obnoxious, but works his butt off and will do anything for you as a teammate. Every clubhouse has a someone like a Jimmy Rollins that is the boisterous one, the one that makes bold claims, like in 07 before I got there. We're going to win the division, things like that big speech he had in 07. Right. Obviously that was before me, but like every clubhouse has someone like that. But when I got there my first day, I think it was like August 4th, maybe 4th or 5th, whatever it was. I got in the locker room, and one of the first people I saw was Pedro Feliz, and I played with him for 3.5 years in San Francisco. So that was a little more comforting that I knew somebody. And then I knew a couple guys in the clubhouse from playing against them, things like that. And and I sat down in my locker. And, after I got my uniform, and, Frank Hovenbarger's giving me my shorts and, undershirts to wear and stuff to, Phillies gear and all that stuff. I sit down in my locker, and Chooch is right next to me. And he just looks over at me and goes, "Lefty." I'm not going to do his accent, but "Lefty, what you throw?" And we talked for 5 minutes. I didn't even know who he was. I didn't know he was a starting catcher. I did actually. I take that back, but he just said, "What you throw? What you like to throw in situations?" And I go, "Whatever you call, I'm going to throw. You're smarter than me. You know all the hitters better." And he goes, "Okay." So then right after that, I went and I was talking to Kurt, Condrey and Durbin. The bullpen guys made sure to come over and talk to me and welcome me, and Madsen. We had Rudy Cianez back then, who was a big vet. I'd played in Atlanta for a long time, but the locker room itself, when I first got there, there's music playing. Very few guys sitting at their locker. Guys were in the cage hitting, and this was early. This is like 2:00, 2:30. Like the game's not till 7. A lot of clubhouses guys don't get there till 3. Batting practice at 4, whatever. I walked in the weight room and saw a bunch of guys, and you saw a whole bunch of guys in there lifting. You saw guys in the training room doing their job. Everybody seemed to be doing their job or what they needed to do to get ready. Like I said, there's music playing in the background, TVs are on. And then, like, to make a long story short real fast, I don't remember if the game was 7:30, but 30 minutes before the game started, clubhouse guy walks in, turns all the TVs off. Nobody says a word. Like, "Hey, why you turn that off?" Turned it off. The music went off. And it was like I've tried to describe it before. It's like, it's go time. You know what I mean? Like, it's
right.
Like Worth was sitting in his locker over here with his headphones on. Just everybody's quiet to themselves all of a sudden. It kind of got like almost a little scary. Like, the hell's going on? And then, Durbin and Condrey and all them, they're getting fully dressed and ready to walk to the bullpen. And I used to not go to the bullpen until the 2nd or 3rd inning. It was just because I wasn't going to pitch before then. And I used to hang out in the dugout, and he goes, "Hey, we're leaving." I'm like, "Already? The game's not for 20 minutes. And I was like, "Okay, let me put my socks and shoes on. I got to get dressed. I'm not used to this." And I really hadn't even met everybody on the team yet. So I get out there and I get dressed, and I walked out of the stadium thinking, "Man, this is pretty cool." It's very businesslike, but not businesslike. Everybody still had their fun. There's still ribbon going on. People are still laughing at each other. Everybody's making fun of Kyle Kendrick because that's what they did. I love that. He's awesome.
Yeah.
But he was the one guy, especially Myers picked on him all the time. But so we get out of the clubhouse and dugout, and Durbin and Condrey and everybody's going through their high fives, handshakes. Like, everybody had a high five or a handshake with Dobbs and Bruntlett, and everybody's doing all this stuff. And we start walking out the bullpen. I start looking around, and I'm like, holy crap. I'd played there as a guest, as a visitor, but I don't know if as a visitor you ever realize how many people are really there. If that makes sense.
Right.
Like, so I'm walking out to the bullpen, and it was a nice, cool night. It wasn't hot or anything. It was, mid-August or August 4th or 5th, like I said. And we're walking out to the bullpen, and people are just cheering and yelling, and there's already an electric buzz, and it's August. We haven't even we're still in second place, I think. We're still a wild card at this point, like possibility. We hadn't won anything yet, and I forget. I think, and Cole was starting that night. Hamels was starting that night. so we get out to the bullpen and I hear a bunch of fans, "Welcome to Philly, Scott." And, I'm like, holy crap, they actually know who I am. Kind of cool. So I get out there for the national anthem and all the bullpen gets up. We stand out in front of the, by the thing, and national anthem goes by and they play this hype video. And then, Cole goes in and starts warming up. When I'm just sitting in the bullpen talking, and Mick Billmeyer's our bullpen coach down there, by the way, one of the best ever. And he starts, asking me questions about this and that. And I'd already had a meeting with like Pat Gillick and most of the coaches were in there that were going to be dealing with me, I guess. So Doobie was in there and Mick Billmeyer was in there, the bullpen guy. And so they, and they knew enough about me, probably had a scouting report of some sort because I pitched against them just a few weeks earlier. Excuse me. So I get out there in the bullpen and we're just kind of hanging out talking, and bullpen's always the same. Everybody's telling stories about this. Where are you from? Blah, blah, the history and backstory and oh, hey, you played with such and such here. And yeah. And then like the third inning comes along and someone says, "Man, are we getting food tonight?" And I'm thinking, what are they talking about? And I can't go this way. They point up at the bleachers above us to a security guard. He goes, "Hey, could you get us and I didn't hear what they ordered, but all of a sudden, 3 outs later or something, someone comes on and they hold their hand over and they pull the bag right along the wall and slide down a bag. It's got a cheesesteak in it and a thing of cheese fries." I'm like, what the? Then when there's a really small bathroom out in the bullpen, okay, it's enough for one person to go to the bathroom, not enough for 3 grown men to sit in there and eat fries off the sink. But I'm like, what's going on? He's like, well, we usually get some food or something about I'm like, what? It's like, yeah, we just kind of, so I don't remember exact order. So we'll just say Durbin, Condrey, and Madsen get up and they walk into the bathroom and they come out looking their fingers. I'm like, what? He goes, "Are you hungry?" I go, "I'm actually starving. I haven't eaten today. I just flew in. I got to the hotel. I got in a cab and came straight to the field. I've had about 7 bottles of that purple Powerade. Because I was really good, and that was the only thing the clubhouse kid kept bringing me more. I'm like, "Can I get another one of them water? I'm really thirsty." And I've been traveling. I just drove my RV home from Chicago because I was getting designated for assignment or traded, and then so I drove my RV with my kid in it, a couple dogs. My wife was in a car with another child and another dog, and I literally pulled into the parking lot, unpacked everything, and it's hotter than 80s in Florida in August, and I had to go in and unpack all my stuff and then repack it back to go to Philly, So I got on a plane the next morning and flew. So I was a whirlwind 36 hours. Like in the bullpen, I go in there and I'm like, now I'd had cheesesteaks before,
right.
And I had the ones like, what's the name of them? I don't even know what the places we get them from up there. There's one out that's above the bullpen in left center field, but
Tony
whatever
Luke's.
it is. No, it wasn't. It was, oh my God. They have the Chicky and Pete's.
Oh, Chicky and Pete's, yep.
Yeah, so we had one from there, and then we had the fries are amazing. Those crab fries, oh crap. So I'm in there, and I'm like, okay, I'm scarfing down food, and I come out, and I'm like, man, that's good. And I sit down, and I'm like, you guys do that every night? He goes, not every night, most nights. And then Mick's telling stories and jokes and all this, and I actually ended up pitching in that game. I threw like 3 pitches. I got a fly out, came in, and I've always told the story, but I for some reason I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I was right. I got the win.
Really?
I faced one batter. I got a guy to fly out to left field. I think it was Nate McLeod we were playing the Pirates, but again I could be wrong. You can maybe check, but I'm pretty sure I threw like 3 or 4 pitches, and he flew out, and we scored a couple runs to go ahead because we were tied or whatever. Because Cole came out of the game, and I got the W. Welcome to Philly. But that was my first day there, and it was I remember calling home I do remember calling home telling my wife, I'm like, this place is very professional. She's like, well, what do you like business stuffy? And I go, no, fun, professional. Nice. Like there was loud music after games. You could tell they were on a mission actually. And they had celebrated every win with childish joy. And then when we lost, there was none of that. They were mad, and as you should be, So I was a little different. I'm happy-go-lucky, if you can't tell. I laugh at everything, and that was my biggest problem in Chicago with Lou Piniella, is he was dead on serious, and I'm not. There's nothing you can do about it. I made a crappy pitch. I can't take it back, Lou. Why am I going to pout about it? But and that's kind of how it was in Philly. There's I'll tell you a quick story. It's kind of funny. It happened in 09 though. I came in to face a couple lefties in against Washington. I walked the righty, homer to the lefty, walked the righty, homer to the lefty, walked the righty. Faced 5 batters before Charlie could get anybody loose. Gave up 4 runs in like a matter of seconds. It felt like got booed off the field, and well deserved. Charlie put me in the lineup in the game the next day to face both of those lefties without the righty in the middle of them. I struck one out and the other flied out. Got standing ovation. So right then, and this is in 09, so it's a full year later, but and right then I fully understood, besides the parade and all the love we got from the World Series. At that, I think that was like my, as they say, an aha moment, I guess. Like that was like when I fully understood the passion of a Philadelphia Philly fan was. Like the day before they booed me, and like I said, every right to boo. I sucked, But then the next, and I just after the game, we actually won that game, by the way. I gave up 4 runs and we were down. Raul Ibanez hit a 3-run homer and we won anyways, so it didn't matter.
Nice.
One reporter talked to me after the game about how bad I was. And she came up to me and she said, well, I go, he saved me, didn't he? I laughed about it. And she's like, I was like, well, that wasn't very good for me today. Maybe tomorrow will be better. And it was, and I got rewarded by the fan support. But anyway, that was my story about a Philly fan. But 08 was, when we went on that first road trip after I got traded there, we actually went like 1-6 on the road or something in San Diego and LA. And I was like, oh, that's not good. And then we just went on a tear in September. But sorry if I rambled.
Yeah, no, you're good. That's all. That's awesome. I want to hear all the great stories. So obviously you get to the postseason. Like you kind of been saying, like Phillies were on a mission that year. I was really young for that, but I still remember just how great those teams were.
Yeah, you were young. You were like 11 or 12.
I was in 6th grade.
Yeah, because my kids were 11. Yeah.
So I do remember I was at William Penn Middle School,
okay.
6th grade. Yeah, I remember I was actually getting to the World Series. Next part is the rain delay. I could never stay awake too late. And I remember for game 5, I told my parents, I'm like, they're going to win, but I'm going to go to sleep. But wake me up in the 8th inning.
Oh, gosh.
And they obviously didn't wake me up. And so the next day, I'm like, there's no way they lost. My parents are like, no, they didn't lose. I'm like, so I slept through it? No, I refused. So I refused to admit that you guys lost that game. But speaking of the rain delay,
oh my God, that was awful.
There's so many emotions. Obviously, you're going into that game 5, like we want to end it. We don't want to go to Tampa Bay.
No, we didn't. We really didn't want to go back to Tampa. They were pretty good there.
And so obviously we can get into the Citizens Bank home field advantage in a little bit, but you have to mentally prepare yourself for game 5 to close this series out. You then pretty much have to do it again, but you're not coming off a loss. What was the mindset for that whole
very
experience?
Strange. Like probably the most strange experience I ever had in the big leagues in my parts of 13 seasons. And like if you could see how cold BJ Upton was in center field, like we're standing behind him, in the bullpen, and you could see his jersey was flapping in the wind. He's got the beanie on, and he was a slender guy anyway, so he probably doesn't have any of this to keep him warm. But you could literally see him shaking in the outfield, like holy crap, it's cold. And then the fly ball went up, and the third out was made, and they put a cancel on the game, or rain delay right then. And I think it was Mick Billmeyer in the bullpen, or could have been one of the other guys. He goes, we ain't finishing this game. And I know there was a buzz in the clubhouse that because I think they tied it up.
They just tied it up.
That's why. And that's what it was. They just tied it up, and someone said they should have called the rain delay earlier. And I remember someone, I don't know if what the context was, but they were like, nobody wants to win a World Series game by a rain out, like a 7-inning rain out. And I'm thinking there's no way Major League Baseball would let that happen anyways. They wouldn't just say, hey, we're done, that you guys lost, sorry about the rain. No, it would be finished at a later date. But when we came back 2 days later, because remember it snowed so bad the next day, then we came back 2 days later, we had the full game plan. When the inning started, Madsen was going in, and I was actually warming up. I had to stand. It was so cold. I don't like sleeves. I did not like pitching in sleeves. For some reason, it was just a comfort thing. So I'm standing out there, and it's 37, whatever, wind blowing, and Madsen's pitching, and I'm warming up just in case something happens. And I don't even know why JC wasn't warming up. Maybe because it was only the 7th inning, not the 8th. But I'm standing out there throwing, and I felt really good, actually. Madsen ended up getting his job done, and then, Jeff Jenkins got the hit. And it was so weird because it was like a full day of preparation for what felt like the shortest game in Major League history. Like, we played 2 innings. I mean,
right.
And you're out there for, I don't even know if it took an hour to play that little part. Which we actually didn't understand why they didn't start it earlier in the day so it wasn't so dang cold. Like, if you could have started it, but it had to be on TV, and we understand.
Right, there it is.
They gotta get their money for TV.
Yep.
But it was very strange to, like, a full day of prep. Everybody did their regular stuff. Everybody who got to the field did their early hitting. You had BP on the. It's weird. We had BP on the. Maybe we didn't have it on the field because of the weather. But it was very strange to go out and just play, like, 2.5 innings of baseball, and then all of a sudden you're World Series champions.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell? What just happened? And it was that fast, Madsen did his job, and then Lidge did his job like he did perfectly all year long. And honestly, when there was, I think he had Hinsky up to bat. I think there was a man on base, actually. I think he had walked somebody.
Someone on second.
And Condrey and I were sitting up against the center field fence post, and we're in the lower deck, the lower part of the bullpen. Thank God Billy Wagner when they first moved into the stadium, he petitioned or whatever to not be in the upper tank and be in the lower tank, because going down them stairs, somebody would have killed themselves like trying to run out. Because Condrey and I are running, we're thinking, and I think it was Clay actually said, he goes, when he strikes this, and he said bad word, he goes, when he strikes this fucker out, we jump in this fence, or we going down the stairs? I go, I'm jumping the fence. He goes, I'm with you, brother. So he strikes him out, and we didn't even know, another bullpen didn't even hug in the bullpen. We jumped the fence, and as we're running in, this is the best part. I wish I had it on video or camera or audio or something. Condrey goes, he's taking his jacket off. And in my mind, I'm thinking, it's freezing. I'm not taking my jacket off. He goes, you got to get your jacket off so they knew who the hell we are. And what he meant was so they could spot us in the pile. Like, look, there's Condrey. Oh my God, it was so funny. I don't think I'm not very fast. I would never, even as a youngster, I wasn't super fast. I think that might have been the fastest I've ever run in my life, though. Like, nice. And I ran from the cemetery police once in Utah. It was a longer story, but like, oh my God, we're running in, and we get to the pile's kind of gone by the time we get there. And then there was another pile all of a sudden that created another one somewhere else, and we all jumped on that one. So we got to be part of that big escalade. And it was just amazing. But again, it's the weirdest thing, like, to do whole game of prep, and you played 2.5 innings.
Right.
It was like, whoa, what? But that's weird.
Was it like you guys like acted like it was like you were going in to play 9 innings, even though you knew you were going to only probably play 2.5? But like, was everyone's preparation as if it was,
it was like
the start of Game 5?
Yeah, it was basically a restart of Game 5, and you're just starting tied. So it was like a real game. I mean, it's basically you're playing a 3-inning game at that point, being tied. In our minds, we thought with Madsen, JC, and Lidge, it's first one to score is going to win, because their bullpen was pretty good too, with Bradford and a couple other guys they had in the pen there, with David Price closing them out back then. But we were in the mindset. I think our hitters were in the mindset to first one scores wins, and then Jenkins steps up and gets freaking biggest double of his life, and then Pat Burrow. Like, God, so much fun.
Nice. So I want to kind of move on a little bit to the 2019 team. Obviously, you come off a World Series.
Yeah.
Every single team has the same, or World Series champion wants to just get back and repeat. You guys were close. But what was kind of the mindset in the locker room? Was it, last year's in the past, or was it just riding a high the whole season?
I don't know if we rode a high the whole season. I think it was more of a belief that we know we can do this. You just got to keep moving forward and win game by game. I don't think anybody ever said, well, we're going to win our division, we're going to do this, we're going to go to the World Series again. I think it seemed, and it comes down to that the locker room being like business professional, but yet, still childish in ways. Like everybody just treated it like it was a new year. Like, this isn't going to be guaranteed. Everybody's got to stay healthy again. We got to win games. You got to do the little things. If someone gets hurt, you got to have someone step up. And, that year, I don't remember if anyone got hurt, whoever it was, but, oh my God. And J.A. Happ. Jay Happ stepped up and won a bunch of games, and different people had different roles that year. JC was suspended that year for 50 games. So I had to pitch a lot more. And like I said, I was 37 that year. So, a little older, I guess, but I still felt really good. But, everybody had to do, and Lidge wasn't perfect that year. So we had to do different things and find other ways to win games, whether it be Raul Ibanez hitting a big homer in a game or Matt Stairs walking off another, just regular season game this time, not hitting a moonshot in Dodger Stadium, but just a regular base hit, or, Dobbs setting some record for most pinch hits by a player in history or something, whatever it was he did. He had some pretty cool stats, but it was just and then the acquisition of Cliff Lee, that was just amazing. What a great guy and a pitcher. But there's just different things, and we went into the playoffs thinking, we had to beat Milwaukee. Well, no, who was it that year? Was it Milwaukee and no, Milwaukee's the year before. Was it LA and
Colorado? No.
Colorado was the first year. Yeah, it was Colorado and the Dodgers, and then it was Milwaukee with Shane Victorino hitting the grand slam off of Sabathia, I think. Or was that 08? I get them mixed up.
It's Colorado. Actually. 2009 was Colorado.
Yeah, Colorado was the big comeback against Houston Street.
Yep.
Yeah, so just things like that. It's just, and then once we got to the World Series, you're playing the mighty Yankees, and you go in there. I think the whole key, honestly, I don't know what other people think, but the whole key to the Yankees winning that World Series is AJ Burnett's big game against us. I don't think he had that great of a year, but man, he really, really shoved against us in what was it, game 2 or 3. And I think that was a game we thought we should have won, and he just shut us down. And then, the rest of they were pretty good like we were, but just to I don't know, if you're going to lose a World Series, and I hate saying it out loud, but if you want to play in the World Series, you want to play one of the greatest franchises in the history of the sport. And, that's what we did. And we came up just a bit short, but and I don't have any regrets at all. Like, it sucked. It would have been really fun to, because whether we won or lost, I was still going to retire and go home and, be that stay-at-home dad at that point and raise my kids and be with the wife and things like that. But it would have been really, really cool to say that I went back-to-back World Series and retired, be like, Peyton Manning stuff.
Yeah.
But, as we lost, and it is what it is. And I still thoroughly, and not because we won the World Series or went back to the World Series in 09. I was actually scared. Philly was on my no trade clause list from when I signed with Chicago. Like, I didn't want to play anywhere in the Northeast, though. It wasn't just Philly. I didn't want to be in New York, Boston or Baltimore, anywhere where it's just freaking cold.
Yeah.
And then I got there, and you hear all these crazy things about how tough Philly fans are, and I never got that. I was treated. Obviously, I think I pitched pretty well as a Philly, but I think I was always treated fairly. Even the days, like I said before, I told you the story about the Nationals. Like even the days you pitch bad, they're just so passionate. But then I got to retire as a Philly, and now I get to come do Philly's fantasy camp. This is my 11th or 12th year doing this, and it is a blast, man.
Nice, that's awesome. So I want to kind of talk. You kind of talked a little about it, the fans, and then just Citizens Bank Park. You've experienced Red October as a player. Everyone's been talking about the last 2 years of Red October, and the Phillies fans have how hard of a stadium is for a visiting team at Citizens Bank Park. For someone that's experienced Red October at its peak, how much does do the Phillies, like the players, really feed off that energy, at the bank?
Tremendously. I mean, it's not that they try any less on the road, or it's just home field advantage is it's hard to actually describe. I mean, first of all, you play there more, so you're used to the backdrops, the background. the weather, whatever any nuances there is, you're more comfortable at home. Just like in any sport, you're more comfortable at home. If you're not comfortable at home, you might want to go somewhere else. But and I played in some loud atmospheres, like we went into New York. They're loud and rowdy and crazy, and I can honestly say truthfully that I played in San Francisco, where they're pretty serene there. It's pretty mellow, but it got pretty loud in the World Series there in 2002, and Anaheim was super loud with those stupid thunder stick things they had back in the day. I don't know if you're old enough to remember those, but those were the worst thing ever invented. God, they were like a balloon that people clanked together, and they're so loud. Oh my gosh. But there's I don't know if it's the way the stadium is built or the angle of the stands and stuff, but the noise just resonates so loud in Philadelphia. I only faced 2 batters in the World Series. I faced the same batter twice, Sakinor Iwamura. And in game 3, I came in, there was a couple men on base, and I struck him out. And the sound when I struck him out was so loud. When you're in a car and the bass is thumping, you could feel it right here. I could feel in my body, in my bones, the cheering and the loudness. Because when Charlie came to take me out, and he brought in Madsen, I believe it was Madsen, came in after me. When he came to get me, I turned and I looked at Jimmy Rollins and Chase Elliott standing behind me, and Feliz is off to the side of me, and I go, I can feel them cheering in my chest. I said something like that, and I was like, oh, I remember walking out the stadium, they're clapping and cheering, and I just remember sitting in the dugout after that going, this is the loudest thing I've ever been into in my life. And it was just crazy, and I played, like I said, I've been to other stadiums. We played, in other places when the other teams got 50,000 people in Colorado for a playoff game. And it's, like I said, I don't know if it's just the acoustical way the stadium set up, but it is just extra loud there.
Nice. I got to experience Red October last year, 2022 season, the game 4 when they clinched the series against Atlanta. And I was at the top of the very top. I think the next row, I think I was over the railing. That's how high up we were. And I remember the last out, it was just like I could feel the place shaking as I'm trying to leave.
The cameras when you're watching, excuse me, when you're watching on TV, and something big happens like that, the camera starts shaking, like it's crazy.
So kind of looking at, the Phillies right now, obviously great stretch that they're going through right now versus kind of the 08-09. I know no one likes to compare teams, but do you see any similarities between, the current Phillies and the 08-09 teams that you were a part of?
There's a lot of similarities. There's a lot of with passion. I mean, obviously players are a little different in just a short, I guess it's not short. I've been retired for 12 or 13 years already. But there's so much passion in the players. I don't know if and I don't know some of these players that came from other places. I don't know if they were as passionate as they were where they were before, but I think once you put on that Phillies uniform, there's something about it that just makes you a little more passionate, a little more vocal, a little more energetic. I mean, who was it? Rhys Hoskins that hit the big homer, and was it 2 years ago?
Yep.
And slammed the bat down, and people said, or maybe it was JT, but they said, that brings out. He never ever does things like that. He's not that emotional, and there's something about playing in that stadium with those fans that just brings out emotion that you don't normally have, or you have that's just, but you bottle it up inside, and there's something about that place that just makes you let it release, or realize that it's okay to release it. But I mean, I think both teams are pretty similar. They got some bats off the bench like we did. They got good starting pitching. Their bullpen. Well, I'd be a little biased, and I said, I think we're a little better bullpen, but that's hard to say. It's hard, without staring. And I'm not a big, huge numbers guy, but I think the difference in us is we had set roles. We had a closer, a setup guy, a lefty setup guy, then myself, Durbin, Condrey, and other players. We all did the other stuff, and we had the phrase, the bridge to lidge, or whatever you want to call it. But I think the Phillies right now, I think one of the biggest things, and their bullpen pitched so well in the postseason too, which I don't think anybody expected that. So more power to them, because they stepped up when they needed to. But I think I would say that's one of the biggest things. I think you need to have a bullpen that has established roles. Like, like that's what I said in the beginning. I used to go to the bullpen in the second or third because I wasn't pitching before that. I wasn't going to pitch in a game before that. And I knew that. So I knew, when to lace up my shoes in the bullpen and start to stretch every day, because fifth, sixth inning came around. That was about my time to be getting ready. And we just mentally ready, and now sometimes I don't think they switched relievers so many times around roles. One guy's a setup guy one day and then not the setup the next day, and I don't know Craig Kimbrell, but like, to be a closer one day and not the closer the next day because you gave up a home run, it's mentally challenging. Like, and I don't, and people say, oh, you're still supposed to get outs. It's not that easy. You're used to getting in outs in certain situations, and that's what you're prepared for, and that's what you plan for. And it is just different. I don't know how to explain it, actually. I mean, I used to think, oh, it's just an out's an out. I could close. It's just 3 outs in the ninth inning. It is a little different, when you're pitching in the eighth inning compared to the ninth inning, because you have no more opportunity if you fail. Like, if you fail, if I gave up a run in the seventh, we got 6 outs still. I got a shot to be redeemed. And I'm, like I said, they got some good arms. I'll tell you that much, though. But I mean, so yeah, I think they're pretty similar up and down the lineup. I mean, I still to this day, I just don't understand how Kyle Schwarber is a leadoff guy.
Yeah.
But he does his job. He gets on base. He walks a lot. He strikes out a lot, but he hits bombs, like big bombs. Yeah. But it's just so weird because, we had a different lineup than them. We hit some home runs. We had a lot of home runs, but, they have freaking 8 guys in their lineup that could leave the yard at any moment in time. And they do quite often. But I think and I hate being critical, but I think the difference in them is when we didn't hit home runs, we got a lot of base hits. I think they're not an all or nothing team because they can still hit. But, and again, that's where I think baseball has changed a little bit. Like, you don't have, 1 or 2 or, well, you have one, maybe 300 hitter on a team. Whereas when I was playing, you had just 15 years ago, you had 2 to 3 300 hitters on the team. And it's just not the same. Strikeouts are more acceptable nowadays. And so that part's changed a little. So it's hard for me to like justify like saying we were better or they were better or we line up better or stack up better, things like that, because it is a little different, But
absolutely.
When that whole team is hot at once, any team's going to do what they did. But, but the problem with that is when one person goes cold, they all go cold and it's hard to score.
Absolutely.
And Wheeler can only pitch so many times.
I know. And he was phenomenal. He
is. I mean, I feel bad for Nola because he pitched so well and has one bad game. And I'm glad they signed him back, though, because he is Philly through and through, he loves the stadium, loves the city. And I don't even think he had that bad of a game, we just didn't score 5 or 6 runs,
He pitched phenomenally the entire postseason, and then people want to judge him off of one game.
And but again, that comes down to the passion of the Philly fans. And
right.
But then, as soon as he gets back to this year and pitches well, it's all forgotten and they move forward. That's what I liked about Philly is they just keep moving forward. Like the Eagles lost yesterday. They're going to be pissed off for a couple more days, and then they'll be ready for Eagles season next season.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
They're going to be wanting Sirianni's head for another week or so. And if it doesn't happen, they're just going to be like, all right, let's go. Wait till next year. 265 days till they'll start the countdown till football season again, but
that's the life of a Philadelphia fan right there.
Yeah.
So you kind of alluded to kind of how much the game has changed. I want to bring a comparison up and kind of get your opinions on one thing. So your last off season where you were, negotiating with teams was 2008-2009 off season. The biggest contract signed that year was Mark Teixeira for 8 years, $180 million.
Yeah.
So, obviously that's a small contract in today's game.
Ludicrous, but yeah.
Yeah. Obviously we're seeing the Phillies at $300 million players.
Yeah.
Obviously we know a Trout signed with Mookie Betts, Aaron Judge. Shohei Ohtani just signed a nice $700 million contract. One, as a baseball fan and as a baseball player, is that contract warranted for a guy like Ohtani, or is it just, the Dodgers are putting all their buck for him.
I don't personally think any player is worth that much money in the history of the game because it's only one player.
Right.
I don't understand. I've never, because I wasn't one of those players anyways, but no, I wouldn't turn down the money. Nobody would. But what makes someone a $300 million player? Like, because I don't know if there's qualifications for it, or if it's, sometimes I think, honestly and truthfully, I think it's media driven. Like, oh, he's going to be a $250 million player. And all of a sudden that's what his contract is. Like, how do they know that? Like, what are they basing that off of? Like, fair market, what means market value? How did it escalate so quickly? I remember I think it was like 98 or 99 when the Toronto Blue Jays the White Sox didn't want to give Roger Clemens like a 4-year $60 million deal or something like that. So he went to Toronto and won back-to-back Cy Youngs. Like, but they didn't want to give him a 4th year, and now they're giving. I don't know. I'm not a business person, so I don't understand that aspect of it. But I really don't think any one player is worth $30 or $40 million a year, because you're just one player on a team of, let's face it, 24.
Right.
Everybody, you can't. Not one team plays with 8 starters and 5 pitchers and a couple relievers. Nobody plays with. They all get hurt. Everybody gets hurt throughout the year. Different players and different people. So you rely on 20 to 30 players a year to win a championship. Yes, those players that are making more money, they do more, and they have better stats, and they produce more. And this, I get all that. I'm not saying like someone like me who faced one hitter a night but pitched in 70 or 80 games or whatever deserved more money. But like, I just never understood how you're going to pay someone $300 million. I don't even know how to describe it. I mean, good for that.
Yeah.
But like Shohei Ohtani, he's already had 2 elbow surgeries. He may not. What happens if he can't pitch? Now you're paying a guy $700 million to be a hitter. That's just ludicrous. Like, unless he wins the MVP, even if he wins the MVP 5 years in a row and they don't win a World Series, I don't get it. You can't. I do like the fact that he's not taking hardly any money so they can pay other players.
Right.
I mean, you're going to get it when you're retired, like the Bobby Bonilla contract. That's just genius. But he's going to make more in marketing money and licensing money, he's going to make that much on the side anyways, especially being in LA, or back home where he's from, like he's going to have deals back there and endorsement stuff that makes even more money. But I don't know. I've never understood like one basketball player is worth $45 million. I just never understood how. I don't know. That's just me, I guess. But
awesome.
Like I said, I'm not a business person, so I don't know how it all works.
So the last thing I want to kind of talk about. So you've towards the end of your career, you had an opportunity to play under 3 pretty, great managers and 3 great and very different individuals: Dusty Baker, Lou Piniella, and obviously Charlie Manuel. 3 just as big of characters, not just in the game of baseball, just in life in general.
Oh yeah.
What's it like to go from
people?
Yeah, to go from Dusty to Lou to Charlie? What's that kind of just change in
Dusty and Charlie are a little more similar than I think people would think. They're they both love their players. They care about their players. They love the game, are passionate about baseball, and and they're both. Dusty could be a little tough, like he had a little tough love in him, but Charlie really didn't. I mean, not that I ever saw. I mean, he just went with his gut a lot, like I said, I think Lou Piniella is a great manager. I just, he's super knowledgeable of the game. He wasn't as compassionate because that's not his job. His job was to motivate his players to be the best. And when they didn't do it, he just tried to find someone else that did. I've never said anything bad about him. I just think we're 2 totally different people when it comes to personality wise. And there's many times where I wasn't pitching and I probably should have gone to his office and said, "What the hell, dude?" But that's just not who I am. I'm not that type of person. I'm just going to do my job when you ask me to do it. And, I think he's, as far as baseball smarts, I think he's pretty good at his job. I mean, he won a World Series in Cincinnati with the Reds, and he You know, he had some really good years in Seattle with motivational, but they were just so, when they talk about going from like one end of the spectrum and then coming to Charlie, where just a good old boy, literally. I mean, the man walked around like Dusty. Dusty would walk around the locker room for 45 minutes to an hour after the game, still in his uniform. You know, like toothpick in the mouth still. Like Charlie walked around the locker room after big wins. He didn't, he'd walk around the locker room and just tell stories. And the guy loves baseball like no one I've ever met, you know? And so me, I always tried to be the same. I was never tried to change and be any different for any different manager, you know. And I had another very chill, one of my favorite guys I got to play for was Felipe Alou. Felipe was very soft spoken, but he would get mad and he'd let you know, like sometimes you couldn't understand him. But, you know, he'd get mad at you and let you know, but he never did it on the field, never did it around anybody. He'd call you, hey, Scotty, come here. I'm going to yell at you a little bit. And he very rarely yelled, but it was, you know, you knew he was being stern. But, you know, before that, I had Dusty again in San Francisco before that, you know, and then I had like, who else did I have? I had Buck Martinez in Toronto, and then Carlos Tosca. Tosca was just a new guy. I don't know if he ever really managed much after that, but I had Jerry Manuel in Chicago. He was younger then, and he had, you know, he's probably the only manager I ever had that actually checked curfew. Like we were a super young team with Frank Thomas and Albert Bell and Robin Ventura, and the rest of us were all babies. So, you know, I think he was trying to just set a standard back then. But I had some pretty different thought process and type managers in my career. Yeah. But most of them were pretty good. I wouldn't even say they're pretty good. I had some pretty good managers, some good men to teach me.
Nice.
But Charlie was, again, not because I won a World Series with him, but Charlie was probably my favorite just because, you know, I love Dusty big. I met Dusty when I was a 12-year-old kid in LA, got a hat signed, and then I got to play for him many, many years later. And I thought that's the coolest thing ever. Like I still have the Dodgers hat with his signature on it.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah. And I got him to sign it again when I was in San Francisco.
Oh, nice.
I said, I have this Dodgers hat. My mom's mailing me, and you signed it when I was 12, and I was at a Dodger game because we're playing the Padres. I think it was the Padres a long time ago. But he signed on one side of the brim of the cap, and then my mom mailed the hat to me, and I had him sign the other side.
Oh, that's awesome.
So, yeah, his signature is pretty much the same, too, which is kind of crazy. But, you know, Charlie was just someone that his memory is impeccable, which is crazy. Because mine sucks already, and I'm only 51. Man, I don't know if I'd ever been around anyone that just loves the game of baseball, being on the field as much as he does. I mean, he comes down here to fantasy. He's been down here to fantasy camp a couple times, and he just walks around from, you know, field to field, talking to players and telling stories.
Nice.
He's just fun to be around.
That's awesome. So quick question about Dusty, because I you know, lifelong baseball guy, was one thing he was missing for a while was the World Series.
Yep.
I know it sucks that it had to happen against the Phillies. As a baseball fan, it was great to see, but someone that, you know, you idolized as a kid, you had an opportunity to play for him in San Francisco. What was that moment like after the Astros won the World Series and you could see all the coaches and some of the players? First thing they went to is him in the dugout.
Yeah, it was a win-win for me because the Philly won, I was excited. You know, I was going to be just as excited as anyone. But when it was a win for Dusty, I texted him right after the game and said, you know, congrats, coach. Not coach. I said, congrats, Bake. Very well deserved. You know, I don't remember exactly what I texted. He didn't respond for like a week. and then I do remember his response was, sorry, it took me so long, Scotty. Been a little busy here. And I just laughed because I knew he was laughing inside. And then I responded with, I wasn't expecting a response. I know how busy you are. You probably got 1,000 text messages. And he responded. He goes, close to that, yeah. And then about another 1,000 emails. But you know, I like the way he went. You know, they lost it last year, but what a good series that was, Texas and Houston, man. That's awesome. But I love the fact that on his way out, he's like basically said, I'm tired of all this iPad in the dugout crap. Just go up and hit the damn ball. Did you read that? Did you read anything about that? He had some kind of quote. He said that's one of the reasons he's done playing. He said he's done with all this analytic bull crap, as he put it. And he said I'd never seen anybody hit a missile at the center fielder, come in pissed off, and the first thing they do is look at their iPad and want to change their swing the next time.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, why would you change anything? All you got to do is hit that ball 2 feet to the left and it's a triple.
Yeah.
That's just lucky or unlucky, I guess. But it was just, the game will miss him.
Yeah. Well, I remember my favorite moment from the ALCS last year was when he got ejected in either game 5, whatever it was.
Was it game 5? Yeah, game 4 or 5.
So.
Oh, yeah.
And he just refused to leave the dugout for a good
awesome.
25 minutes.
And then he sternly put it, I'm not leaving. No. I'm like, oh, it's awesome. But that's who he is. He's fighting for his players, and that's just what he believed. I don't even. What did he get thrown out for? I don't even remember what it was.
I think someone else got ejected.
The pitcher hit somebody,
or someone didn't get ejected on the Rangers, and he was pissed off about that. Someone either got ejected or someone did not
what's
get
his name
ejected.
got hit.
Arcee's the one that pissed off Harper.
The guy that hit all the bombs. I can't think of his darn name right again. I'm
Garcia.
getting old. I can't remember. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
he got hit, and then
after hitting,
they didn't eject the Rangers pitcher. That was it.
Yeah. And then he was pissed. And then they did warnings, and his pitcher couldn't respond. Is probably why he was mostly pissed.
Yeah. That's all. I mean, as a baseball fan, I just kind of love to see fun stuff like that. Everyone just being.
You got to have a manager. You got to have a manager that has your back, or has the unwritten rules of baseball still in his mind, and that's what he believed, and that's how he was raised, and that's how he was taught in the game. And some of those things have changed a little bit now. Like, it's okay now to toss your bat 15 feet in the air. But on the other spectrum, like I was a pitcher, I probably dropped a few chainsaws on people, or whatever you want to call it, or let out a couple of loud yells. I mean, I don't see anything wrong with tossing your bat in the air after a home run, but God, just run. Don't stand there and watch it. Just run. Hurry up. I want to get going. Like, I don't know. I never hit a home run in the big league, so I got a base hit, but I didn't pimp it. But
do you remember who was off?
I got to hit my first big league at bat off Manny Ibar.
Nice.
In St. Louis. I hit a ball, first pitch I saw in the big leagues. I hit a ball off his shin. Ball hit him on the mound and rolled over towards our dugout on the third base, and then I'm standing at first base like this. You know who I was looking at, right? St. Louis Cardinals, 1997. Mark McGuire. Like,
there it is. Yeah.
And I was just looking at it. He goes, that's a nice swing there, kiddo. Or something like, he might not have said kiddo, but something like that. He goes, that's a pretty nice swing right there. And I go, thank you. And he goes, is that a changeup you just threw me 3-2 last inning? I go, yeah, sorry about that. I actually apologized. I'm like, yeah, sorry about that. Something I'll never forget. Like, that's just one large man.
Yeah.
But yeah, I got to hit on my first at bat in the big leagues.
Nice. I mean, hey, you're one from.
And then I got to hit off of Padilla.
Oh, nice.
I got to hit off of Vicente Padilla in San Francisco as well. So I got 2 hits and I think I had 11 or 12 at bats.
I tell you, all you gotta do is focus on the 2, and that's all you really got.
I'm 2 for 2 off of 2 pitchers. That's all that matters. I don't remember who else I faced. I did walk once. That was not fun.
Oh, that's
running bases in the big leagues is scary.
Awesome. Well, Scott, thank you so much for
my pleasure, man.
To speak to. I mean, it's a pleasure. Obviously, good luck with the fantasy camp and the high school season coming up. And as always, I know you played for a lot of teams, but as always, go Phillies.
Oh yeah, I'm a big Denver Broncos fan, but I'm also over the years I've kind of become an Eagles fan, so I'm learning the ways. But if they play each other, I still root for my Broncos. But other than that,
That's fair.
Eagles. I mean, I still watch the Phillies games. Phillies games are basically the only thing I ever stay up late for anymore. Anyways, that is when Michigan won the national championship, because I am a big Wolverine fan.
So is Harbaugh gone, or is Harbaugh, staying?
I think he's going to go to the NFL, which sucks, because he's going to go to the Chargers, and now I'm going to have to hate him now because I'm a Broncos guy.
And he's always there. You go.
And screw the Chargers. So, I hope he stays, because I think he's a good college coach. I think he's a very good motivating guy.
Mm-hmm.
But I think he did a good job when he was an NFL coach before, though. So if he goes, he goes, and I bet they'll hire Oh, sure. What's his name? Sure. The
Sure
guy
Moore.
that, Sherman Moore.
Yep.
I think he'll do a great job if they hire him.
Mhm.
As long as he doesn't curse on TV anymore. Did you hear that?
Yeah,
game?
the Penn State game.
So funny.
Well, I grew up a Penn State fan, so I'm all pissed off after the game.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm pissed off after the game because Penn State can't do anything.
Oh.
And that's what we got. I got to listen to him, crying and starting to curse on television because
oh my
they
god,
missed
so he dropped the F-bomb. I was like, I watched the TV. I'm like, oh, you can't say that, buddy. Yeah, I grew up a Michigan fan because of Jim Abbott.
Oh, nice.
He was they did when I was younger. There used to be a thing on TV called Twib Notes, This Week in Baseball, and it was narrated by a guy named Mel Allen, famous voice like Harry Callis. Right. And it was This Week in Baseball with Mel Allen. We're going to Michigan University to interview a one-handed pitcher. Yes, that's right. I said one-handed pitcher, and I'm like, what? What the hell? And that was about the same time that Fab Five with Chris Webber, Jalen Rose, and Juwan Howard, all those guys. So I kind of latched on to Michigan from my junior year in high school, I think.
Oh, nice.
And then I married a girl from Ann Arbor, so
there you go, perfect. Awesome. Well, thank you, Scott, so much.
My pleasure, man. Thank you for having me.